Today, we follow everything from Mother's Day chaos to corporate video conflicts, encounter the whirlwind of entitled mothers in these gripping tales. Whether it's managing a partner's spiraling visit or navigating a stage mom's pushy demands, each story offers a glimpse into the challenges of dealing with entitled parents. Brace yourself as these narratives unfold with unexpected twists and turns, revealing the lengths some mothers will go to defend their children's actions. First story of today. My partner's is spiraling and visiting this weekend for Mother's Day. I'm still not over what happened last time, and I'm not sure my so is either. Any advice/tips?
Vished with my SO's little brother, 15, for a weekend a few months ago. We went, but can be stubborn and stressy, so when we told her that the lunch place was in the city, of which I live in a town outside of, it had to be over-exaggerated and stressful about her driving into the city to this nice place that was in our budget. She has notions that my so has to buy her a coffee everywhere we go at least. It got so bad that SO's brother exited the car while it was moving in a multi-story car park. I got out with him and had to console him while walking to the place. We got there and he refused to talk to I ordered him a Coke, and took it upon herself to sit away from us while me and so tried to smooth things over with her other son. Safe to say things since then haven't gotten easier. EM's son has moved out to live with his dad, says he can't take it anymore. Is recently divorced for similar reasons, but there are two sides to each story. Before would contact my so asking him to act like a surrogate parent, she refuses to speak to their dad, and my so lives with me hours away from both so and little brother. Now she uses so as a go-between to pester to speak to he refuses to. We're supposed to be going on holiday with my family, so, and in a few months, yet no one is speaking. We already had issues before with wanting a discounted holiday. By that I mean she wants me and so to foot half of the bill without having any say in where we would like to go / have our own schedules on our own holidays. She dictated our holidays to Cornwall twice. I was stupid and had recently met so who was my BF back then, so I didn't say shit. So has a rare sleep condition. No, I'm not exaggerating. Triggered by stress, so after the second time ending in my so being in an episode, we decided to not go away with only her and LB's birthday, which fell on one of these past holidays, was domineered by Her idea of a vacation is going to the beach every day with everyone, no, not going in the sea, just sunbathing for hours. And if you dare decide to stay back, she will complain and argue, oh, and God forbid you want to go and do something other than that. It took 5 hours of my so arguing and trying to convince her to let us go kayaking on the last day of the holiday because going to the beach every day is a non-negotiable. Keep in mind me and so are both adults. She seemed to create arguments between me and so as she took my spending money, for the both of us, and used it as her own personal bank for birthday cards, family in Cornwall, and so let her. She tried booking Greece with us in a few months, and after uncovering the fact she only wanted us to come to essentially finance half of the trip with no say, basically the past 2x, me and so put our feet down and said we would rather finance our own trip on our own terms. That was the case until my own family stepped in and made it an integrated holiday with because of EM's situation with not having LB / complaining about paying child support. They are only expecting the cost of her flight and half of LB's flight as a contribution. 4. After my family decided to invite with LB, I have warned them of all these issues, but they insist time will heal all. They are both boomers and the only reason we can afford a foreign holiday. VV grateful for BTW. 5. She is coming in a few days for Mother's Day for a meal with me so and my mother. So was dumb and forgot to book an Italian restaurant, so I spent my morning trying to find a place that could take us, that was nice and fit with the Mother's Day theme, wasn't pricey and ideally had offers on. I found and booked a reservation, told so who then told immediately objected to the place. I did like the last time when we were with LB and I said to so that I wouldn't be canceling the reservation over my dead body. Her suggestion was a pricey restaurant in the middle of the city that is rammed, only has a reservation for 12 and wouldn't be justifiably affordable for me, so, my mom and even herself. Probably expected so and me to pay for her meal again. 5. 5, she's asked to speak to me about planning So's birthday, which I am dreading. Mini update: she has taken to the extreme with my SO's birthday. By the way, the lovely pub she is referring to is my birthday party where I got engaged to So. It was paid for by my grandparents in the upper end of my city, aka pricey. Any tips or tricks? Trying to not snap at her, haven't so far. ETA. Thank you for all your comments and advice. I had been reading these from the gym and came home to share with my partner. We read them and talked for over 2 hours about this, what we wanted and what needed to be improved upon in relation to EM. We have a lot of issues to revisit and talk through, and although the part of the blame is on my So, we're both grateful for the resources and advice we have received.
Next story is Abs Out and entitled Mother Tells My Mom to Handle Her Kids. My 17F mom, 41F, took me out to get makeup the other day for a friend whose birthday is coming up. We entered the store and all was going really well. I was checking out concealers while my mom was on the other side of the shop looking through various shades of lipsticks. Enter entitled Mother, late 20s, F, with her devil spawn. I say devil spawn because her kids were misbehaving wildly, and she didn't bother even once to tell them to stop or something. Not even a minor rebuke. I say devil spawn because that about sums these two kids up. They were running wild around the shop, throwing testers around and being a general nuisance. My mom stepped in when the kids started poking their slimy little fingers into the lipstick testers. I get it, they're just testers, but EW. People are likely going to use those to decide whether they like the shade or not, and God knows where those fingers have been. Like, one of them was legitimately picking his nose minutes ago. My mom, having 4 kids of her own, looked around to find their parent. EM was the only one in the shop besides us. My mom called out to her, and this is how the conversation went. Mom, excuse me, are these kids yours? I know, very obvious, but my mom is a very polite person, so it's not odd to me. EM, yeah, Mom, can you please tell them to stop touching the testers? They're not toys. EM, if it's such a problem, why don't you handle them? Oh, boy. My mom left the shop for a few minutes and signaled me to not follow her. She came back with 2 buff security guards in tow. The kids were still poking their fingers in the testers. The guards walked up to the kids, and in the deepest baritone ever, one asked, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" The kids looked terrified and cue the waterworks. EM immediately stormed over and began reprimanding the guards for scaring her poor little angels. She then saw my mom nearby. EM, you did this. At this point she was practically hissing like a cat. How dare you teach me how to parent? Mom, in an eerie monotone, you told me to handle them, hence I handled them. She screamed more obscenities at my mom, the guards, anything around really, but the guards weren't having it and told her to leave. She created quite a scene, but thank everything that is holy, she left. My mom had quite the story to tell at dinner. A rather comedic encounter with an entitled parent. Our third is a crazy stage mom EM tries to force her daughter into our corporate training video.
I was part of a team shooting a short corporate training video. It was on visitor policies for front office workers of a regional healthcare operation. It showcased various scenarios involving visitors that might come up on the job and the do's and don'ts in each case. No one was chasing an Oscar here, but it was still quite high budget and professional. With one exception. The corporation had granted us access to a front office area at one of their locations to use as a set, but they hadn't thought to notify all the practitioners in the building that they'd be shooting. It was a weekend, when they're typically closed for business, so I guess they just took for granted things would be shut down. But there are dozens of private offices of employees in these buildings, and a couple people chose to work weekends. As a result, their patients and clients kept streaming through the lobby while we tried to do this. For the most part it didn't actually matter. Those who even noticed us at all could see we were filming and at worst took a couple pictures then left well enough alone. Until the Karen and Karen Jr. breezed in. But we'll call them Wanda and Wanda Jr. because my mother is named Karen and she's a wonderful woman. And my ex-wife is named Wanda, and this is exactly the shit I could see her getting up to. Anyways. We were shooting a scenario in which a third-party contractor approaches the desk attempting to gain entry, e.g., a delivery person, a maintenance worker, etc. We were using a water guy. There's an elaborate procedure that's supposed to be demonstrated in the video. It takes several excruciating shots to get correct. We're finally approaching the finish line when... Oh my GAWD. Are you making a movie, V? My daughter is an actress. She'd be great in any movie. Give her any line to read. Any part. She will nail it. What kind of movie is it? We had a PA who was assigned to play defense against anything like this when we realized the building was semi-open to the public, but things had been going so smooth for so long, he took his eye off the ball. A crew member pulled her to the side and patiently explained, "Sorry ma'am, no movie. Just a corporate thing. You can go that way to your appointment." Trying to politely but clearly signal that she needed to move along. That went in one ear and immediately out. She grabbed Wanda Jr. and dragged her over, practically shrieking at this point, "Oh, good. No, that's so good." Things like this prove dynamism. It'll be priceless for her real. And you'd be lucky to have her, trust me. Any part, just name any part, and she'll blow it out of the water. You should see her do Titanic, actually, speaking of. But name any part. She's ready. Wanda Jr. looked anything but ready. She looked exhausted, mortified, and a little nervous. I didn't know if she was scared by the confrontation or at the premise of being given a role. Not that it mattered, the content of these videos is dictated by powers that be, we can't just go adding anything. A more senior crew member tried to reason with them at this point, realizing the whole ordeal was really beginning to hold us up. He emphasized to Wanda, "This is a training video for this business. That means it will only ever be seen by people who work here. And not even every single one of them. Those who do see it, you know. There isn't even a credits. So, please." He gestured broadly at our operation that had ground to a halt, hoping the point had been made. "Okay, so, just put her in as an extra or something. She doesn't have to speak. You're all so sensitive." Wanda griped. You almost had to admire her dedication at that point, but she wasn't advocating for herself. She was haranguing us on behalf of her daughter, who was cowering in a corner a ways away, seemingly totally uninterested in any of this. A few of us got together and discussed our next steps. We decided to just continue shooting and hope for the best. We did, and you can guess what happened. Wanda dragged Wanda Jr. back over and tried to plop her down in the middle of the shot. We reset at a slightly different angle and rolled again. Wanda herself made a ton of noise and did everything possible to be disruptive. We got together in a small group again. We discussed waiting and coming back to finish another day, but we were already severely behind schedule for that day, so would likely need an entire extra day of filming if we went this route, which was not logistically feasible. We discussed calling the authorities. We did have a film permit. But that doesn't go so long a ways in keeping strangers out as you'd think it does, and isn't necessarily enough to even get the police out at all. Finally, we didn't want to generate any negative buzz with the company. We film corporate-type videos often and were not keen on a reputation of being hostile to clients or creating hostile scenes inside public-facing areas. Then, the PA had quite the idea. An upcoming scene was what to do when emergency services seek to enter the building, e.g., firemen, security, police, etc. And as such, we had a cop costume and an actor primed and ready to play a cop, all just laying around. We only had to cross our fingers that Wanda and Junior did not notice the cop had a same-day side hustle as a water guy. So, it took a little bit. Wanda planted her feet the entire time, taking glamour shots of Junior in front of our modest camera equipment. Then, the cop arrived. We recast him as a security guard so no one would go to jail for impersonating some public official. He swaggered up to the front desk and declared, "Someone contacted security. We'll need access." Which is actually also more or less his first line. A few of us were nervous he'd forgotten the mission and defaulted to his practiced content. But no. The desk lady was unflappable. Everyone was on their game. "Thank you, sir. Was it an emergency or non-emergency call?" Also essentially the desk lady's first line. Now we were really all holding our breath. One of the senior crew steps in. Yes, hi. I called. He briefly explains that we're trying to film and what's gone on. Our officer nodded and told Wanda, quite authoritatively, "All right, ma'am. Move along, please." This section of the building is closed to the public and there's absolutely no loitering. She continued taking her glamour shots. Photo and video are also strictly prohibited. That's a HIPAA violation. I might need to report that. Wanda huffed, puffed, and pouted, but she didn't know what to say. The best she could come up with was, "I had an appointment. I can be here if I want to." To which our officer replied, "No, ma'am. You can be in the office where you had your appointment. And if they've asked you to leave, then you have to go." The rest of the building is closed but for traffic to and from private offices. Think of it this way, if I have an appointment in Dr. Smith's office, am I entitled to go into Dr. Jones's office just because it's in the same building? Or am I entitled to stay in Dr. Smith's office for the rest of my life, because I had an appointment there? He stared blankly at Wanda, who threw a stapler off the desk in her fury. "Oh no, there will be none of that. Let's go before I have to escalate the matter," our officer warned, with certainly no plan as to what he'd do next. So, we held our breath. But, she left. This was during the writers/actors/everyone strike, so she yelled out as she left, "I'm going to report you to all the unions as scabs. F***ers. As though our corporate training video in Middle America was a union acting job. While it was frustrating to be off schedule, I mostly just feel bad for Wanda Jr. I hope she gets to spend plenty of alone time with Dad to even out the crazy.